one of the most common, like, frustrating things that people, because it's so caught up in language and cerebral thinking to kind of get this. But the problem isn't the problem. The problem is how we see the thing that leads us. So let me just stop beating around the bush. This is the most common thing I hear. My past made me who I am. Oh my goodness. There's just like, so what do people mean by that? I think like that somehow, that when they travel back in time to the past, like it's not the past that made you. That's hindsight. You're looking at it as the past that made you, and you're giving purpose to it. My coach, everyone says everything happens for a reason, and my coach says, yeah. Andrew McKee says, yeah, the reason is the reason you assigned to it after it happened. Of course, makes sense. And I don't know about all this stuff, but here's what I do know. I know what I can control and what I can't. I can control my behavior and how I respond to things. I can't control the outcomes of my behavior. And that, because that leans into control when it's maybe influence, but we see it as a control piece. And that's where unhappiness exists. And we can't control the past, so we try to assign some sort of deep meaning to it, to be like, it made me who I am. I'm like, but it's not completely true. What made you who, because the future is really your current, your future you. You are the past of your future you, if that makes sense. Right now, you are creating your future. And those things aren't made by the past, they're made by your current decisions, whatever your decision is. And because there's a lot of reasons why you being in the past doesn't hold up. First reason is, if you are your past and what you experience is what you become, then everyone who experiences something similar would have the same response or the same outcome in life. That's not true. There's a whole story about twin boys. They both have an alcoholic father. One becomes an alcoholic, one doesn't. That shouldn't be a variation if we all experienced the past the same way. And number two is, it means that people can't change. And I see people change all the freaking time. That's my whole career. How I help people is to let them see themselves clearly. If there wasn't a shot at them to shift, I would be wasting my time. And it would be impossible. I'd never see it. But they shift. They shift because they realize that the future can be created based off today, not their story and their past. What, something bad happens in your past, do you think you have to carry that with you? No way. What if you had amnesia and you can remember, what all of a sudden you could be a completely different person? Yes. The same person if you just decided that your past didn't create who you are. It definitely talks about your experience and the things that you learned and stuff like that, but those things were about you. In other words, if you went through something, you made a choice, maybe something else in your life would have allowed you to make that choice if it wasn't that piece, and we would never really know. But what I do know is that you're not stuck with that choice, that you can turn the boat in any direction you want at any given time and go in a new direction. And so your past doesn't define you. It might describe you, it might describe what you've been through, but it doesn't create who you are. You are who you are because you made a choice. And if you're not happy with some of the things that you do, choose differently. Yeah, for sure. There's sometimes it's challenging, but it's the people that say, oh, I've been doing it for 20 years, so I can't just change. Bullshit. How many things in your life have you instantly found out in society it's not appropriate for you to say, and you instantly stop saying that? How many times have you curbed your behavior when you were a kid, when you used to swear with your friends and your parents are around, you instantly stop swearing? Are you honestly telling me that you act the exact same way with every person? No, you're smart enough to have a social intelligence. I mean, I think it's important that you only have one mask. I hope you say, yes, I act the same way around everyone. That's wonderful. However, if you've ever curbed your behavior in certain situations, if I took you right now and we met the Queen of England and you were trying to be appropriate because you're around royalty, you're going to change your behavior. You're not going to maybe drop F-bombs like you would around your friends. Maybe. I don't know. But the thing is that we often do shift. And like that, based off circumstances. There are people that think they can't smoke, but they go on and they're, I need to smoke, and it's only been an hour, I need to smoke. But they go on a 6-hour flight and they don't even think about cigarettes till they land. There's a lot of limiting beliefs in that stuff that we believe that our past has something to do with it, and it doesn't. And our past isn't real anyways. I mean, even remembering something, if I asked you right now to remember your 16th birthday, just remember where you were, who was with you, what was the cake, what was your favorite gift. I've just planted a memory, just a footnote memory, that the next time someone asks you about your 16th birthday, you're not going all the way back to your 16th birthday. You're actually remembering this time right now. Chemically, that's what happens. And even when you remember it, it shifts so poorly over time They did a study where they asked 100 people who had been to Disneyland, who they didn't know they had that in common. Do you have any memories from your trip? And they all, they said, not, whatever, they shared something. And they said, did you get a chance to cuddle Daffy Duck? It was in England when they asked cuddle, cuddle, hug, right? And then like a year later, they asked the same thing, and 25% of them said, yeah, I have a memory, I cuddled Daffy Duck. It's Donald Duck. That's how they knew they could plant a memory. It happens all the time. I see it in some of the stuff that I do when it comes to magic, and people recreate a situation they experienced with me, which I know from performing it over and over, that what they say isn't what was real, but that's how they experienced it. And so think about that. Like, the past is so fraudulent, and it's not even important. It's why the rear window in your car is smaller than your big one. More important to see where you're going than where you came from. You're driving, looking out the rear window, you're going to kill yourself. When I was a kid, I remember my daycare. I have like 2 memories. Biting myself, getting bitten by Katie, a girl named Katie. Cried. I got 4 marshmallows because she bit me. Then I bit myself like a week later. Cried. Said it was Katie. Got 4 marshmallows. They caught on to me. I was a very clever kid. But the bigger memory that I have is the slide in the back area. It was so big, and I was afraid, and I came down, and the kids made fun of me, and I felt a lot of shame back then. That was when I was like 5, right? 4 or 5, whatever it was. And so when I came back to Kingston to live, my daycare was in the area. And it's been a long time. Obviously, I'm a big boy now, but my mom was driving with me, and I was like, hey, we used to live in there. Is my daycare? And she said, yeah. I asked her, it was a weekend. There was no kids there. I said, can we go check it out? She's like, why? I'm like, I got this thing I got to deal with about the slide. And so I went and I peeked over the back thing, and they had the swings and the sandbox, but the slide was not the same slide. It was like this 3-step Fisher-Price click together plastic thing. It was very small. And I went, oh. I left, and my mom's like, went back to the car. She was waiting for me. She said, how was your slide experience? I said, it was not as good as I hoped. They replaced it. She said, what do you mean? I said, well, there's this small Fisher-Price one. She said, Morgan, that's the same slide. You were much smaller. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. So dumb. I was like, I didn't remember it the way it was. I remember it the way I was. Perspective plays a huge part. And we don't really see things accurately sometimes when we tell ourselves these stories. Like I said, the story in my head was, it was as tall as a mountain, it was such a big slide. It was I thought it was an adult one. It was just a kid one, but it was as tall as I was, so it might have felt really big. And so perspective's a huge thing when it comes to that, and I just don't really see any value in living in those spots that are unchangeable. It's not that we can't take a moment to reflect and see what the lesson is for us as we move forward. But that we think that makes us, oh, that happened in the past. I'm like, no, it happened in the present. We just took time to take a look at it from hindsight. But the lesson we take could be just as dangerous. I mean, so many people that struggle in relationships because, like, well, my past relationship, when she didn't let me show me her phone, she or he, that means they were cheating. Okay, so you think that everyone now that wants privacy on their phone is lying to you? What if they're hiding a birthday party from you? What if they just like their privacy? What if they, we think every person, if you're going to paint, there's no same situation. You're going to paint the brush from past and moving forward. That's a very dangerous way to look at your life. That's something that happened because person A did this. That means everyone acts the same way. It's a completely different situation. You're with a new person, new time, different age, different experience. Nothing will be the same. It's not that there isn't some patterns to be aware of, but when we start to treat it as like a generic template because the past teaches us, that's super dangerous in getting new information. And it creates an assumptive understanding. So, I don't know, it's a really weird one where people just say, oh, I am my past and my past made me. I'm like, well, that's weird because I'm my present. And I make myself every day, and I make choices on who I want to be currently, and I let go of the things I've done in the past because, like you probably, 100% of the people out there, I'm sure, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. And we can learn from them in the moment. We can learn and then move on from them and carry that with us. So we don't say, well, because I learned it, and it happened 3 years ago, and then 6 years ago, and then 9 years ago that situation happened. I learned it in the past. That's not when you learn the information. You learned it in the moment. And you made a choice, what you wanted to understand to carry forward. And that is how you can constantly move forward. That's how you shift. And don't be so tied to the past that you believe that it carries all the truth about your future you. Because I'll tell you what, the way I dealt with things when I was a teenager is very different than the way I deal with them as a full-grown man. And the struggles I've gone through, although teach me, sometimes I've taken lessons away that turned out to be only good for the 20-year-old me and not the 40-year-old me. And so I just want people to live currently, just in the present, because here's the thing: the past is unchangeable, and the future, it creates anxiety in people because it's unknown. But when you live right here, the best version of you in the present, you bring your presence in, that's the best version of you. This moment where you're great, you're okay, you are love, and you can change anything you need to, because your story does not create some sort of pre-programming. Sure, it exists. You learned something. Maybe you learned the wrong thing. Maybe you took a message away from a bad situation. But as soon as you recognize what that message is, you don't need to own it. You are not a robot. You're not a computer. You are not programmed. You have hardwiring from your understanding of how life works. You know, I thought when we were young, we thought certain things. And then you get older and you have an awareness and you can let those things go. Like I said at the very beginning, there's so many things in society that as soon as we find out that we need to shift, we just go, okay. Like, look at masks in COVID. We go from a population at the moment where it doesn't wear masks to boom, everyone's slapping them on and throwing their brand on it. Most of us didn't know how to wash our damn hands before COVID. Now there's like, everyone knows how to wash their hands like properly. Like, it's so crazy, like the way we think, and it shifts immediately based off of society, and we have awareness, and that's the key. Awareness of your understanding of how to change your life doesn't exist in the past. It exists right now in who you want to create yourself. And so choose who you want to be. Let go of any stories. And I just think people are so afraid to let go of their past because they want to create a story. It's very alluring to live in the past. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Morgan, and he lived through this adventure. And we think that, like, the end, you know, as we take our pop, and they all live happily ever after. Like, there's going to be some reward in the story of the perfect life. And there isn't. There's just this really great experience of being alive in a very messy life for you to experience what it is and live and make mistakes and learn and grow and all the stuff that's life. And you don't have to adhere to anything that's yesterday. Most of us can't remember what we had for breakfast 3 days ago, but if somebody hurt us 5 years ago, we carry that pain. Why is some information building your story and not all of it? Our memories just don't work that way either. If we were supposed to remember everything, we'd all have photographic memories from the day we were born. Some of the most important memories of your life are faded. Don't worry, you experienced them. Move forward. This thing is flying this way. So enjoy. And I hope that lets you let go of some of the past stuff, is just to chalk it up to just your beautiful journey and don't let it define you. Have a great, great day, because that's all there is today. Let tomorrow go. I will see you next time. Bye.